Welcome. Good morning, everybody, to another Wake Up and Deliver, Season 2, Episode 33. Welcome to the stage, John and Matt. We were rehearsing that before.
We went on. And just so you know, Matt already messed it up because it was much different when he practiced.
Welcome to the stage, John and Matt.
What is going on this morning?
You know, too many things are always happening in the mornings.
This is true. I find, you know, that's probably the biggest difference between people who are like super satisfied versus people that feel stressed out. Is I think their mornings are just very different. I just don't mean it, routine level. I just think that when you're really free, your mornings are probably pretty chill.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had a chill Monday morning in a long time. A busy time of the year, which is good. It's good times. But it's time for some brain food for us to wake up and get going. I got a good quote to kind of bring John in, so we're gonna bring him to the stage. Success is built in rooms no one would photograph. I like that. The beginning of that. I'm just gonna add my take right away. The people who change things aren't at the parties, they're at home on Friday night, obsessed with problems everyone else finds tedious. Their Instagram looks empty because their life isn't shareable, just the same unsexy routine day after day. They aren't doing anything glamorous. They're just consistently making steady incremental progress over a long period of time. Success makes noise. Building doesn't. That's the paradox. Exponential looks boring until suddenly it doesn't. I have to add a little flavor to that.
That's okay. I needed it. It's very long.
It's supposed to wake you up. It's supposed to give you some energy.
Yeah.
Where's the coffee mug?
I have it. I'm good. I don't know if any amount of coffee was helping that one. I mean, it definitely could have made its point in fewer words. That's for sure. I don't think it's necessarily wrong, though. I do think that, everybody wants the success without like all of the work, right? Like, how the joke of like, yeah, after 10 years, I'm an overnight success. You know what I mean? I think that there's obviously a lot of truth to those types of things. Very few people just kind of like knock something super quickly out of the park without any context. Even if you think about great ideas, right? Like what people think are these like eureka or aha moments don't just come up from, I just randomly stumbled upon like the theory of relativity. Like absolutely not. Like, you work at it, you had a lot of context, a lot of exposure, lots of conversations, lots of thinking. And then finally, of course, something connects and all the things kind of gel together. But it's not just all like, I was a blank slate before, and now all of a sudden, like, here's how the universe works.
I think a lot of people, and my perception is that everybody thinks it's like almost like a lottery. Like it's all of a sudden you started one thing and all of a sudden, whoop, you got it, right? But they don't realize all the failed businesses those people had, all those failed ideas those people had. It doesn't matter about the age. Like some people are like, oh, they must have been really old when they started, must have been really young. It still takes a lot of little failed steps to get to where they're going before it really works and takes off. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of investment. That's why it's an investment, right? It's not the lottery.
For sure. So I like the one overall. I just think that there's an opportunity for everyone to paraphrase that one down just a touch.
So I know you have a little bit of a segment lined up, but I had a hot take that I was mulling over beforehand, and I was like, I think this would be good for our segment on Monday morning. Okay. And it kind of ties into a lot of the things the themes that we've been talking about in the last little bit, specifically, the death of the box stores and less people going to the malls and everything like that, and that reduction and everything going more into that delivery scape, deliver right to your door, have all that. What's your take on maybe eliminating, because a lot of European countries do it, getting rid of, Sunday, Monday retail stores being open, or even having retailers open at that point, to have less of those footprints and congestions on the road, have it more like it used to be. Because I remember, 20 years ago, there wasn't no retailers were open on Sundays.
I don't know, like mixed bag. Do I think it would work? Like obviously for sure, right? You cut off where it is. I mean, you used to be in this part of the province. So Ottawa is kind of interesting, right? Obviously, bordering, it's Ontario. It borders very closely to Quebec. You can jump across, and when you had like an Ontario holiday that was not a Quebec holiday or not observed the same way in Quebec, like what would you see? You'd see like all the Ontario people like run over to Quebec and shop, and vice versa. So I definitely think it would make a difference. Unless it's like mandated by the government, I think it's got like a 0% chance, because I think there's like a few things there. One, I think you're going to get a lot of people that, because of their schedules, because of how they work, are going to be pretty upset. Two, I think because it has been there for so long, it's going to be like an inherent sense of loss, which like I just think wouldn't go over really well.
Chick-fil-A does it.
Well, yeah.
They're just not open on Sundays.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely people who did. Actually, oddly enough, over the weekend, I went out for breakfast with a friend of mine, and as we were finishing, he was like, "Oh, I got to grab something for my nephew at this." Well, I guess you can say whatever, crumble cookie. It's like a viral kind of absurd thing. It's cookies a stretch for that. Yeah, cookies a stretch. Anyways, point being, kind of like we started rolling over, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Hey, dude, like, these guys shut down, like what's going on, whatever." And then I'm like, no, they're just not open on Sundays. So look, I think it can definitely work. I think for mainstream stuff it would be challenging, and I think you'd get a lot of pushback business wise, just because of the fact that, like, well, how do you shut down online if people still shop, you still process?
You leave the online. That's what I'm saying. The online takes over at that aspect of it. You leave the Sunday shopping, and you leave grocery stores, I guess, for the most part, open, because that's the main driving. But you reduce the retail to help reduce that congestion space of constant activity. I really don't know who goes to the mall or to a retail store between 10 and 4 on a weekday, because most people are at work. Like, what's the necessity of having those times open as well? It just creates more congestion, right?
Well, the only thing I would say is that it's kind of like load leveling, though. So it's like if you took all of the traffic from the Sunday, and of course there's like a certain like entertainment aspect to it, like, ooh, let's go, we need something to do, let's just go to the mall. But I mean, for any of the actual like I need stuff, that volume is just going to go into other places. And then to your point, if people are like back in the office or can't leverage the 9 to 5, 10 to 5, whatever it is anyway, do you not actually just end up making your congestion worse than in some of these other periods, because like that traffic has to go somewhere? Maybe. Anyways, you had an idea. You had a topic. Well, I was interested. So last week you sent me that really interesting post that I forget her name. So if you know it, please drop it for everyone so they know who it was. I really want to say like Ellie or something like that. But anyways, I'm not 100% sure. Point being is that she made a really great, you try to find it for everyone, but she made a really great post that you sent over that I liked, that was really talking about, and this was right around when
Elena Gold.
Elena, there you go. And it's right around when GPT-5 just dropped and whatever, and like there was a bunch of added features or capabilities, and it really just quickly became like, these large LLMs or these large companies that are just trying to eat up so much of the market share. Basically, it's like your whole app, your whole product essentially is gone. They just turned it into a feature. Your business is gone, right?
Yeah.
Think of summarizers and stuff like that started initially with the API calls, and now it's like summarizing. I don't think anyone uses a service that's not directly, Gemini, Claude, or G. Right? I don't think anyone's doing anything for the most part with those three things. And the coding, hey, like your whole coding platform, your whole business, your whole AI evaluation now just became a feature in Cursor, right? Because they're the one that's taking off. So I thought that was super interesting. And the tie-in, obviously, to keep it, very
logistical themed, please.
Yeah, industry standard.
Yeah.
Alibaba back in the news because they're making a whole AI agent to speed up online sourcing. for merchants, which is, you know, one of the most challenging things when it comes to like anyone trying to do any type of new product or whatever, is finding, you know, all of the different merchants for the different source materials and stuff. And it just, you know, kind of reinforced that fact that like there's so much money and there's so much opportunity in all of these tasks, right? That none of the major players are going to let it go. And it's like, so now here all of a sudden is Alibaba, who, you know, has a huge treasure trove of cash as well, who probably just obliterated a bunch of people who'd been building their business or might have even started making traction doing AI sourcing. You know what I mean? And using AI to help people source.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed. I have a Google phone and I have Gemini on my phone, obviously. I've been upgraded. And then recently I've been looking with my son on bikes, because he essentially took mine and I have no more bike. So I've been looking at bikes, and all of a sudden, on my feed,
these days, by the way, holy shit. Oh
yeah, and you know, type of person I am, I like to buy things for longevity versus, you know, nothing to knock a $399 bike, but you know, I want a longevity of a bike. And all of a sudden I am getting these deals of the type of bikes I'm looking at. You know, Google's pushing them like, hey, this one's on sale, this one's on sale, this one's on sale from these websites. Hey, you should look at these ones from this store. These guys will deliver direct to you. Oh, this guy will deliver down to a store near you. Oh, this one is reviewed quite well. You should really consider it. And I'm getting all these notifications and these pushes where at first I was casually looking. Now I find myself really involved on, should I be buying a bike now? Maybe these are pretty good deals. Like, what am I doing? And it's that auto sourcing of me, instead of me doing the research for it, it's pushing that data to me to purchase it and grab it and then pick it up and go, right? It's making my life a lot easier, where I used to spend weeks on end trying to figure out what's the best type of bike, what should I use. It's already figured it out for me. And I think that's the really crazy part when it comes a lot to the supply chain pieces, where I wonder if in the background, is there a probability scale of Matt purchasing this bike? Okay, it's 1 out of, let's call it 95% he's going to purchase this bike. He takes about 3 weeks to purchase it. Let's position this bike closer to him so he can then pick it up right away. Because maybe he's hesitant because it's going to take 2 weeks. Hey, oh, by the way, Matt, this bike's at the store that you wanted. It's on sale. It has your name on it already. It's on, and it's perfectly it's set up for you.
I definitely think that stuff is coming, because it becomes the next like real evolution of like, how do you continue to really push a lot with your supply chain? It's like, how do you drive, either more certainty or more probability or whatever. And like the real power comes when I'm not necessarily moving the bike just for Matt, but I've got Matt and I've put him in a cohort of 25 people, and I think I can sell 3 bikes to at least these 25 people. You know what I mean? And you start really gaming the system that way. And that's why I think like a lot of these big companies, there's just too much in it for them to not try to grab everything. And to come back to the post that you shared, what she was sharing and her position was more in the sense that the features and the feature of what you do is really going to be no longer the moat. You really have to like own a process and like own the customer end to end. And funny enough, I think another thing that just kind of reinforces that, a little bit of like nonsense news, but like Perplexity made an offer. Sorry,
buying Chrome.
Yeah, buying Chrome. Like imagine a company that didn't exist a few years ago offering Google $35 billion for essentially their crown jewel, which is Chrome as a browser, like the most used browser on the planet, and almost what every browser is based on, and at least under the hood, and just being like, we'll buy it. It's like,
for more context though, it's because the European Union's pushing to break up the monopoly, and they have to segment some of their businesses out, and they're looking at creating smaller businesses out of the large monopoly that is the alphabet.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not saying that they just randomly thought that they could make a sweetheart deal, but the point being is that like, if you would have gone to someone, like, it's funny, I saw this post that was like, a Dubai chocolate Labubu being sold in Miami, and someone just said at the bottom of it, like, 6 months ago, this would have made no sense. This is kind of like the same thing. If you would have gone to someone like even a year and a half ago and said, oh, hey, Perplexity is going to try to buy Chrome, and who's Perplexity? Like, they're not buying anything from Google. Like, you know what I mean? So I just think it's really interesting how quickly things are changing. And then on top of it, something that I think we've talked a little bit about before, and this is very much something I often share with clients or just any kind of feedback, is that I think that inherently too, consumers will continue to gravitate towards the Amazons, towards the Walmarts, towards the Googles, towards the Anthropics, whatever, because things are changing so fast. Nobody wants to pour a bunch of money into something that is either going to die, get absorbed, whatever. So it's like they look for that stability. They look for a little bit more of that certainty, which I think then unfortunately comes with then these organizations that just have like billions of dollars in the bank. Like I was arguing, I shouldn't say this, but I was arguing with someone in one of my posts last week because they didn't like my take on Amazon and saying like, no one is chasing them, like, or they're making everybody chase. And this guy's like, oh, you're very ignorant to Walmart Plus. I'm like, absolutely not. There's a line in the post that actually acknowledges Walmart. But, at the end, my final statement was like, the problem for like Walmart or the problem with anyone in any of these spaces, once one of these like giants latches on, is that like they have more money than they know what to do with. So like Amazon is just sitting on billions and billions and billions of dollars, and them deciding that they want to continue to go at grocery just really isn't good for anyone who's in that space already, because like sooner or later, like they're going to figure it out. And if you're betting that, oh, Amazon will never crack this code, like I've got this so down pat, like you're just lying to yourself, and you're going to be very sadly disappointed.
You can't outperform those companies, and even to the point that you're making, these big names, they're going to venture into spaces that generate revenue. So OpenAI is already looking at an evaluation. I think their shareholders were offered like $300 billion, which is more, $500 billion for their shares, which is more than what SpaceX was. It's supposed to be the most valuable company now, private company. And it's going to continue to grow. And they're going to have to get into spaces that will help accelerate that, grow beyond just AI and how to power that machine. And part of it is going to be the logistical nuances of what people do and what people want and how to get them. Going back to our earlier piece that we started off with is, maybe the stores aren't going to be open like they are now, where someone's sitting waiting to someone walk through the door. Eventually, you're going to put into the address that you're going to head to the mountain bike store, and it's going to alert the guide like, oh, someone's pinging to come to your location. They'll be there in 20 minutes. That's when the guy's going to show up. He's not going to have that store open all the time. And that storefront's going to be open to the convenience of someone who's there, because it's knowing all this information that's coming through. Already knows what you're going to buy. He's going to get the heads up because he pays for the premium at OpenAI. It's going to be like, Matt's looking for this, and this. He doesn't like having long conversations. Keep it very simple. Comes in. Hey, Matt, how's it going? I know you're probably looking for this bike, right? Yeah, perfect. Let me explain everything to you.
Hi, Matt. Give me your $5,000. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, basically, right?
Yeah.
But that's the idea. I think a lot of these companies are pushing for, and that's how, when I can talk about the supply chain changing, I see that narrative forming more so in the background, where everything that we move in bulk right now. Like, I was
going to say, sorry, you're right, because at the end of the day, what's like the next evolution of trying to make the offer? It's like, I need to make it so good, and you can only do so much with pricing or this or that or whatever. Where it's going to start to compete is on convenience. And it's funny that you bring that up. So I bought something on Amazon the other day. Okay. And for the first time, they offered same day delivery, like same evening delivery. Like this was at like, I think I bought this around, like I was making the transaction around like 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, have it delivered today between 5 and 10, or 4 and 8 a.m. and blah, blah, blah. Now, oddly enough, I was actually running out at night, and I'm like, no, I don't want to have it delivered at night. But I was super curious because I hadn't had an offer yet for this 4 to 8 a.m. kind of overnight delivery, whatever. So I picked it because I actually wanted to see how Amazon performed.
Only a
And, like-
logistics person would do that. I'm curious how the supply chain will work.
Yeah.
Let me pick it.
I agree. And funny enough, yeah, if you want to get into the details, watch this. So it's like, so I wake up after like whatever, it was a longer night, and that's why I didn't want it last night, because I knew or not last night, sorry, Friday night. I didn't want it Friday night because I knew I was staying out. And then like I wake up Saturday and it's like, I don't know, 10 a.m. and I have a doorbell camera, right? So it gives you all the notifications. There was no notification. I'm like, oh, as if Amazon messed up. I'm like, see, you know, like what they did or whatever. But like I just come down to the door just to check in case. Sure enough, it was there. My camera just missed him because the way he came up and kind of threw the package on the door. It didn't register.
Which way did he come up so nobody saw him on camera? Just so we know for anybody listening who's stalking John.
I have since made adjustments to the frame, but like no, but like so it was there. And actually I checked like the Amazon details, and the delivery was made just after 5 a.m. And that I actually think is super huge, because I really do think that one of the lost opportunities, I mean, used to be done, we've talked about this before, it used to be done a lot in B2B, like overnight deliveries or early morning deliveries.
It's the best thing.
Yeah, best thing. Huge unlock to get more volume in that period and stuff like that. You avoid congestion. It's super fast. It's quiet. You know, whatever. So anyways, Amazon did like really great with it. It was like a perfect kind of like experience. And that to me continues to push it, because the options, and I took a screenshot because I'm probably going to make a post about it sometime this week, but it was like that 5 to 10, the 4 to 8, sometime during the day, the next day. And then the bottom option was just like, pick your day. And that type of optionality is now like really, and I've been saying this for years.
We've been talking about this for over a year on this show. How do we get scheduled times for deliveries?
Yeah. I know.
This is newsworthy. People, this is news breaking. John experienced it first. I'm ordering right now.
Do it.
Ordering right now. We'll get the offer.
You'll get the offer. So I do think though this is the interesting thing about it, because I was having a conversation with someone. I was trying to tell them about the fact that, like, you know, any business now that's trying to compete on like real convenience and like speed and stuff like that. Like, sure, if you have your product in at Amazon, but there's a big uprising or a big swelling of support for people who want to take their brand off Amazon, or at least drive a lot of their sales away from Amazon because, you know, the fees, the constraints, the challenges, blah, 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 whatever. And they're trying to work their own D2C. But I mean, that model that they have there is, I'll say, pretty much next to impossible for anyone. And I don't care what anyone will say. There's no regional carrier. There's no other provider. Even UPS and FedEx would have a really hard time with it. Walmart would have a hard time with it. They're probably one of the better positioned if they really continue to build from their stores, just because of the proximity, especially in the US, to the population base. But I mean, that's an offer that if you chase that, you might as well just put, you know, a bunch of money on the ground, light it on fire, because competing with Amazon that way, like they've built themselves that way intentionally for like over 30 years now. And to think you're just going to replicate it overnight is very, very foolish.
Yeah. But, you know, people will build it on top of what they've already built, right? It's not like they're building it from scratch. They have a model to work around, and they see the faults within it. So they can always enhance it and do it differently, but you just don't have the global reach. And again, Amazon, as most people don't know, it's not globally available everywhere. It's very much North American, very much most European countries, but it's not in Africa. It's not in Australia. That's not in all over Asia. But will it have the same effect, the same culture, and the ability to have the same products that the consumers need in those areas, right? I don't think they'll be able to take over everywhere. Like, you know, Korea, China, Japan, they have some very strong, you know, marketplaces. India as well. You know what I mean? Like we're essentially like the rest of the world's population is in those kind of countries. They have a lot of their own. So I don't think that they'll necessarily pull away all of the trust. Because funny enough, who was it that JD? So JD's like super popular, big website and whatever. But funny enough, they tried to open a string of wholesale stores, you know, over in China, and they're shutting them down because they can't crack the trust and the loyalty that Costco has built there. Oddly enough. They don't have the social credit.
Yeah, well, pretty much like they're just like, no, people are like, no, I love Costco, and the way that Costco does business is still better. So I thought though that was pretty interesting. And then, to kind of drop one more layer onto that about these big corporations continuing to expand, Walmart made a lot of news a year ago, 6 months ago, or something like that, it was probably more like 6 months ago, where they really were opening up their essentially like freight forwarding and doing freight and becoming a little bit more of a broker essentially, and they were making it really easy for people to ship container loads and leverage like Walmart sort of like networks and contacts and stuff like that. If you were obviously inbounding to Walmart DCs and into their marketplace and whatever, now they've just opened it up to Vietnam. And obviously, I think that signals that they're going to continue to, build up the program and continue to open it up to the most like sort of high volume or the most important like countries of origin / ports. Just makes it really interesting to see how like, these companies are continuing to obviously have to expand outward to continue their revenue gains and goals and stuff like that. And
but part of it people don't realize it's also to help create their own infrastructure and asset, right? As the more people get on it, I'm going to help with your, get on your freight forwarding. It's like when you build a brokerage in trucking, like you get the brokers on doing lanes and you see consistency of round trips. Eventually, like, I might as well put my own trucks on these lanes because they're profitable and I can then run the asset at a better rate. It's the same thing with Walmart. They're going to get enough freight forwarders purchasing their space both ways. Eventually, you're going to see a Walmart ship going down the way because it's far more cost effective. Amazon already did it with their planes. The only one that's kind of it's not doing well. What's that big freight forwarder that everybody hates? No. Oh man, he was just on CNN not long ago, and everybody just despises him from the community.
What? The Flexport?
Yeah, Flexport. Like their planes aren't even being utilized at all. They're like, oh, we're using our planes, but everybody who's tracking them saying they're sitting still because they don't have the density of someone like a retailer like Walmart to be able to build it both ways. And that's why they didn't just buy the boats or the planes right away. They want to see what's going one way. They're going to sell that service the other way because I'm already purchasing. Let me purchase it both ways. Eventually, let me just buy the planes and control it from the beginning and make it far more efficient and remove that extra profit that the other company has on top of it. And that's why you're seeing a lot more of these companies starting to do that. Walmart's a little bit late to the game, but they're the largest transportation company in the United States. Right? At least last time I looked. I don't know. I think
private fleet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which still is a big impact.
Huge. And I think that a lot of these companies are going to continue to, the big ones anyway, are going to continue to invest. Like, Crocs, for example, it was another thing where they like invested $80 million to expand their facilities. So still doing more of their own fulfillment. So it's like, I do think you're seeing like a very big like shift. Like, sort of like the people that are really investing versus the people that are outsourcing. I don't think you're going to see as much in the middle as you used to in the past. So that's kind of interesting.
Fun fact for Crocs. Do you know how they were first advertised? On what show? What movie? Where they first kind of were seen?
I know it's going to sound bad. I don't have any hate for them because my kids have had them forever and whatever. I'm not a big fan. I've never owned any, but so I don't know the lore of Crocs.
So Crocs was first appeared on the movie Idiocracy, and the guy who made the movie thought they were so outlandishly, crazily not feasible of an idea for a shoe that they put it in there for Idiocracy of the future of people would never wear these kind of shoes ever. Like this is so far-fetched. And that's their first take, and then they took off, which is
people are like, gotta have it.
I gotta have it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's wild what people it's wild really what people get into and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's super crazy, super interesting. I got a really
we're down to the last.
Oh, I know. It's not for this. It's more just to like pique your interest and stuff. I've got this new article that I want to put out for the newsletter that's really around this concept of improving your sales and pushing your value proposition through your like processes and how customers experience you. And it just kind of really resonated when I got some feedback from something I helping a client with and stuff like that. And I sent out a personal email about something that was like really like not in the grand scheme of things, like was just like normal business, so to
Yeah.
speak. And you could just tell that there was like surprise on the other side from the recipient, who probably is dealing with, you know, different people, different organizations, different this all the time, right? Being solicited and blah, 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 whatever. And you can tell that like people probably either close deals or make arrangements. And then like, you know, it just goes into a system, and you can tell it's a systemized flow, as opposed to, you know, just adding these touches. So anyways, I started getting into some research around the experience, like creating those moments of experience through really small touch points, because I really think more and more businesses are going to need it, because like trying to compete on price and trying to compete on some of these features and benefits is going to be extremely difficult, for how you know these megacorps ramp it up.
All these commoditized brokerages in the US, my take is they're going to start losing customers as they want more relationship driven. As much as the AI broker is interesting, I think it's going to be it being a frontline versus a support tool. It's going to really jeopardize a lot of relationships with a lot of customers, because they want to know the end users being taken care of, and also the drivers being taken care of, and everybody in between, and not just being thrown into the wolves. But on that topic, John, feedback for the week. Give us some kind of energy that we need to take on this week.
Oh my God, energy! You're the one who's like crushing everything and everything. You should be giving the words of wisdom, like with all your busyness and like, your tools and process.
You close. This has been for 33 episodes this year, and all of a sudden you're trying to change things up, John. If you want to give me the morning coffee next time, we'll do that. But you're closing.
Maybe I will take you up on that one. Words of wisdom for the week. Okay, so here's an interesting. Be really mindful, especially a lot of these tools and stuff like that that are coming out that are supposed to make your business better. Everyone seems to be moving towards credits. So you know, get away from monthly SaaS, get away from this, get away from that. Pay per use, which sounds really good until you realize that your costs might explode and become very hard to determine like the ROI. And one of Matt's favorite concepts of some of these new things that you're putting in place. So that's one thing I thought was interesting, is I saw a couple of very well-known platforms move away from their standard pricing and into credits, which is really what's driving all of these different AI quote unquote based systems. So think about that as you continue to scale, because you can find yourself building things that might work that you literally operationally or business wise cannot support, because these costs can just rack up very, very quickly.
And I'll give a great example of that one. I don't know if you heard about this, the HubSpot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll talk about it next week.
HubSpot.
Did you see what they've done?
I saw something, but I didn't read it in detail. So I'll let you.
We'll talk about it next week. On that note, same doc, same channel, same two people. Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
We're sporadic sometimes. We like to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, every once in a while, guests, you know, got to keep it fresh. Actually, we want more guests, though. We're really looking for people who might want to come on and add a little bit of a different flavor and twist. So keep that in mind. Reach out to Matt, reach out to me if you think you might want to come on, have one of our crazy conversations. We can make room for you. Like, where is it? Somewhere in the middle here. We'll split it out. Yeah, we can make it happen.
Below here, above you. We can even do a four square. We can do. Oh, anything.
That's true. Bring a friend. Bring a friend.
John and I can come together into one square. We can be in the same room. We can do lots of things. Anyways, on that note, goodbye, everybody.